Okay, so now we're going to look at the sine law. We're going to start chapter 8. So the sine law, and there's another law that we're going to look at called the cosine law. These are for triangles that are not right angled. So remember, you can only use the primary trig ratio, SOHCAHTOA, if you have a right angled triangle. But if your triangle is not right angled, then you can use the sine law, or you can use what's called the cosine law, which we're going to do tomorrow. Okay, so this is for a non-right angle triangle, an acute triangle. So remember, capitals are your angles, lowercase letters are your side lengths. Across angle A is side A, across angle B is side B, across angle C is side C. And what you're going to do is you're going to set up a proportion, okay? And it's going to be sine of your angle over its side length equaling sine of another angle over its side length. And of course, you've got this proportion here. Okay, so when you use the sine law, it really depends on what information you're given. Okay, and I've got an example for each. So you use the sine law if you're trying to find an unknown side, if two angles and a side are known. Okay, and I'm going to give you an example of that. This one here, I have these two angles and one side known. Okay, or you use the sine law if you're looking for an angle and two sides and an angle opposite one of those sides is known. So something like this. You've got two sides and an angle opposite one of the sides is known, and we're looking for an angle. So these are the two situations where you would use the sine law. Okay, so let's have a look at the first example. And we're going to find the length of the indicated side to the nearest tenth of a unit, so one decimal place. Okay, so the sine law is sine of the angle over its corresponding side. Okay, so in a proportion, in the unknown, you need to know an angle and a side length in order to use the sine law. You can't have too many unknowns, right? You can only have one unknown in the proportion. So when I look at this triangle, I notice I have this angle here, K, and its corresponding side length. Okay, remember this is side K. Okay, across angle L is side L, and I just kind of did a cursive L because, you know, otherwise it might look like a 1. Okay, across angle J is side J. Okay, so we're just asked, what is this? We're not asked for J, so we don't really need that. So I need to know an angle and its side length. So I see here that I got angle K and side K. So I'm going to do sine of K over its corresponding side equals, because I'm looking for side L, it needs to be in my proportion. So I need sine of L. Okay, so I know angle K is 56, so I do sine of 56 degrees over its side length, which is 5, equals. I am looking for side L, but I notice here I don't have angle L there. I can't have two unknowns in a proportion. I won't be able to solve it. Is there any way we can find angle L right now? This is a triangle. What do all the angles in a triangle add to? They add to 180. So I can right now just figure out what angle L is by doing 180 degrees, subtract 51, subtract 56, and what do I get? I get 73 degrees. So that's what I'm going to put here, sine of 73. Now I have my proportion. 3 of the 4 parts are known. I only have one unknown. If you have too many knowns, once again, you cannot solve it. So just like every other proportion we've been doing, we're going to cross multiply. So sine 56 times L. I'm just going to move this up. So sine 56 I'm going to multiply that by L equals sine 73. I'm going to multiply it by 5. Okay, now of course I want L by itself. So I'm multiplying it by sine 56. So to get rid of that sine 56, I need to divide both sides by sine 56. This is going to cross out. Now to find L, I do this on my calculator, and I can do it in one step. So I'm going to do sine, hit sine 73, I'm going to times it by 5, and then I'm going to divide it by sine 56. And just like with the trig ratios, you must be in degree mode. Okay, and because I am not looking for an angle, I do not hit the second function key. I just hit the sine button. So sine 75, I'm going to multiply that by 5, and then I'm going to divide that by sine 56, and I get 5.8, and this is in millimeters. That's the units, and I did it to 1 decimal place. Okay, and that's how we find a side length using the sine law. Let's look at another example. This time we're looking for an angle, and we're going to do to the nearest degree. And this is the angle that I'm looking for, which is angle F. So because I'm looking for angle F, sine of the angle over its side length, angle F must be in the proportion because that's what I'm looking for. So sine of F over its side, 10. And then I'm given this angle D and side D. Okay, I know the angle and its corresponding side, which I need to have in my proportion. So sine of 63 over 14. Okay, once again, I cross multiply. So sine F, I times it by 14, sine 63, I times it by 10. To get, remember, we want sine F by itself. I divide both sides by 14. Okay, so this is what I'm left with. Now, this time I am looking for an angle. Okay, so I'm going to have to use the second function key at some point, right? Because we want the angle. Okay, oops, I'm just going to move that a bit. So again, I'm going to do this part first. Okay, sine 63. I'm going to multiply that by 10. Then I'm going to divide it by 14. And this is what I get. I'm just going to move it up. I get sine F equaling, and I get this decimal. I'm going to keep this decimal on my calculator. Okay, because remember, what are we trying to find once again? We're trying to find the angle. Just got to move this a bit, sorry. Okay, so now I keep that on my calculator, and now I use my second function key, second function sine, and I put that decimal in. Okay, and then I get about 39.5, and we're doing it to the nearest degree, which is about 40 degrees. Once again, you need to hit the second function key in order to find the angle. Okay, that's it.